hand the king leaned, answered the man of God and said, this is an assistant to the king. That's that expression, who leaned on the king. The king leaned on his hand. You know, the king would do that for support. This was an assistant. He said to the man of God, behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might this thing be? And he said, the man of God said to this Lord, to this assistant to the king, behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. Verse 3. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, why sit we here until we die? The lepers amongst Israel, lepers weren't allowed into the city. Other nations allowed lepers to be in the city. Israel did not, because one of the commandments was that you didn't have lepers. One of the laws amongst Israel was you didn't have lepers in the city. They had to be put outside of the city. So these lepers were outside of the city. And so, you know, if they tried to go back in, the city was bankrupt. You know, there was no food in there. So you see what happens. Why sit we here until we die? What are we doing? We're doing nothing. We're hoping things get better. This is the audacity of hope. You sit around until you die. Why sit we here until we die? If we say we will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city and we shall die there. Plus they get kicked out if they try to enter in. And if we sit still here, we die also. Now therefore come, and let us fall into the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live. And if they kill us, we shall but die. If we go in the city, they don't have any food. So we die in there. If we sit here, we're going to starve to death. If we go to the Syrians, and they kill us, well, we're dead. So what? Maybe they'll feed us first before they kill us. But if they kill us, we're just going to be dead. But why are we going to just sit here and do nothing and wait for someone else to do it? What are we waiting for, we would say today? What in the world are we waiting for? People, believers, we have to take action. God promised to supply our need. Does that mean we're supposed to sit around and wait for the knock on the door with a basket of food? No! We take action. We believe. We move. We act. We make the phone call. We go and make the sales call. See? We write the letter. We send the email. We get on Twitter and tweet out. You know, or Facebook and face out. We don't want to get on Facebook and space out. That's the one we don't want to do. We don't want to space out. We take action. We get in our sales mode, see? Why sit we here until we die? And they arose up in the twilight, that's early in the morning, twilight, to go into the camp of the Syrians. And when they were coming to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites, and all that stuff. Where they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent, and did eat and drink, and carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it. And came again and entered into another tent, and carried thence also, and went and hid it. Then they said one to another, we do not well. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. If we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. And sure enough, they went and they told the king, and they said, look, you know, there's all of this. We can't do this. We got to tell you what happened. There's food! And there's goodies. There's all this stuff. There's food. You don't have to die. There's food. So, we're going to skip to verse 18. And it came to pass, as the man of God had spoken to the king, saying, 2 measures of barley for a shekel, and a measure of fine flour for a shekel, shall be tomorrow about this time in the gate of Samaria. And that Lord answered the man of God and said, Now, behold, if the Lord should make windows in heaven, might such a thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat of it. So it fell out unto him, for the people trode upon him in the gate, and he died. He got to be at the gate of the city to open the gates to the people, and he tried to control the crowds, and they ran him down. So he died. He saw it, but he didn't get to eat of it, just like the man of God had said. In less than 24 hours, God turned it around according to the word of the man of God. I don't know if for the whole country things will turn around in less than 24 hours. They could. But I know this. For every one of God's children, God said that He promised to supply all our need. It can turn around for you in less than 24 hours. It can turn around for you in less than an hour. It can turn around for you in less than a week. Whatever the time period, it can turn around for you, God's child, because God promised to supply all your need. I'm going to show you something else in 2 Corinthians chapter 9. One of my favorite verses in the Bible. 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 8. Look, it's wonderful that when our fellow man helps us. And I'm thankful for our fellow man. I'm thankful for our families. I'm thankful for our fellow believers. All of those can be great sources of help and comfort and strength and inspiration and for sharing. But that's not the source of supply. If we look to man to be our supply, we are in deep doo-doo. As a matter of fact, the word says in Jeremiah, Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes the flesh his arm. We don't trust in man, because if you do, you're cursed. So go right ahead. Those that trusted in Bush, you're cursed. Those that are trusting in Barack, it's a curse. Cursed is the man that trusts in man. You better be trusting in God. Here's what God says. In 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 8, And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always, having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work. Wow! Here in Ephesians, which is to the right of 2 Corinthians, toward the back of your Bible. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20. Now unto him, God, that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. We kind of saw a glimpse of that with a famine turning around in the city less than 24 hours. God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. If He could turn around a famine in less than 24 hours for an entire city, what could He do for you and your family if you choose to believe God? If you choose to believe man, you are done for. And the last verse I'll show you is in Galatians. In chapter 6, verse 9. And let us not be weary in well-doing. So you're believing God, you're counting on God. Galatians was right before Ephesians, if you got to Ephesians. Let us not be weary or discouraged in well-doing. For in due season, proper time, we shall reap if we faint not, if we don't drop out, if we don't quit, if we don't screw it up because we're discouraged. And we stop. If we hang in there and keep believing God, it will turn around.